Part 1. The Mask of Nice. You smile and say sure, no problem again today, even though your chest quietly tightens with a resentment you never once let yourself actually feel inside. You apologize for asking, for existing, for simply taking up space in a room, until that one small word has completely lost all of its original meaning. In today's meeting, you nodded along with an idea you actually hated inside, because disagreeing openly felt far more dangerous than simply staying honest. Everyone around you dumps their problems onto you and quietly calls it trust, while you absorb every bit of it in silence and call it simple friendship. Your weekend plans quietly died again, traded away without a word for somebody else's emergency, because you never learned how to protect your own time. The louder man in your office got the promotion again this year. You did all the real work, he took the credit, and you told yourself it doesn't matter. You play peacemaker in every single fight you witness, smoothing every rough edge down, while your own needs sit buried beneath everyone else's comfort. Everybody around you seems to genuinely like you. Almost nobody actually respects you. Deep down, you already know exactly which one of those you have. Alone at night, completely worn out from performing agreeable all day long for everyone else, you privately wonder why being good feels this heavy now. Ask yourself the honest question you've been avoiding for years now. Is this really kindness, or is it just fear wearing kindness as a convenient mask? Part 2. Why you built the mask. It started young. One single angry outburst met with harsh punishment taught you that silence was always the safest price to pay inside your own home. You learned to read a room full of faces before you ever learned to read a single book, quietly scanning for danger before you ever dared to speak a word. Such a good boy, they said every single time you quietly swallowed your anger down, and slowly that quiet compliance became the only identity you knew. Avoiding conflict stopped being just a survival strategy and became your entire identity, and somewhere along the way you started calling your fear a virtue. Somewhere along the way, approval became the drug you couldn't live without, and you built your entire sense of self-worth on other people's opinions. Every single time you say yes without hesitation, some small part of you is really just begging, please don't stop liking me, I could not take that. Rejection terrifies you far more than losing yourself ever could, so you keep losing yourself slowly, piece by piece, decision by decision, day after day. You mistake being invisible for peace and call your total exhaustion goodness. But disappearing completely was never actually the same thing as growth. Real kindness is a conscious choice made from genuine strength. What you've been doing this whole time is a reflex built from fear dressed as virtue. You built that mask years ago to survive a world that once harshly punished your voice for speaking up. Now, that very same mask has become your own prison. Part 3. The bill comes due. Your coworker takes credit for your idea in front of the entire team, and you say absolutely nothing because speaking up still feels deeply unsafe to you. Your friend borrows money from you again and never once mentions paying it back, and you never ask because asking might upset them or damage things further. Your family keeps piling expectation after expectation onto your shoulders, simply because they already know that you will always eventually say yes anyway. People do not respect walls that don't actually exist. If there is nothing solid to push against, they will keep pushing until they push straight through you. You become a doormat, and doormats get walked on every single day. Your time and your energy got treated like an infinite, free resource for others. The people who ask, negotiate, and push back are the ones who get the raise, the deal, the respect. You stayed quiet the whole time, and quiet stayed unpaid. You honestly don't know your own preferences anymore. You spent so many years reacting to everyone else's needs that your own inner voice went silent. Resentment quietly builds up inside you while you keep smiling on the outside for everyone, slowly poisoning you from a wound that nobody else can see. You show up faithfully for everyone. Your boss, your friends, your entire family, your partner. Everyone except the one person who actually needed you most. Kindness without any real boundary isn't a virtue at all. It's simply a vacancy sign hanging on your chest that quietly says, come in, take what you want. Part 4. The breaking point. Then it finally happens. One more time you get used, dismissed, or completely overlooked, and something deep inside you finally refuses to bend further. You catch your own reflection in the bathroom mirror one morning and barely even recognize the tired, hollow man staring back at you in total silence. It hits you all at once like a wave. Being endlessly agreeable never once earned you real love. It only ever earned you exploitation, dressed as friendship. Years and years of swallowed anger rise up inside you all at once. And for the first time in a very long time, you finally let yourself actually feel it. You grieve the version of yourself that you buried alive years ago, just to keep everyone else comfortable, safe, and never once inconvenienced by you. You finally see it with total, sudden clarity. Fear has been driving your entire life this whole time, wearing the convenient costume of kindness all along. You reach the fork in the road that you've been avoiding for years. Stay this exhausted, invisible man, or tear it all the way down and rebuild from zero. You say no out loud for the very first time in years, your voice shaking and heart pounding, certain that the entire world is about to end because of it. The world does not end. Nobody actually dies. The sky does not fall down. You simply disappointed one person, and somehow, against all odds, you survived. This moment is the death of the mask you wore quietly for decades, and the violent, uncomfortable birth of something far stronger standing in its place. Part 5. Tearing off the mask. You set your very first real boundary at work today, your voice calm and completely level, and you refuse to apologize for it or quietly take it back. You sit inside the discomfort of someone's open disapproval without folding, without over-explaining yourself, and without silently begging for their approval. You finally cut the relationships that only ever took from you endlessly, the ones that drained you completely and gave nothing honest back in return. You start keeping the small promises that you make to yourself every single day, and slowly your self-respect begins rebuilding itself from the ground up. You train your body relentlessly until raw discipline becomes pure instinct, because real physical strength is the exact foundation mental strength stands on. You start speaking plainly and clearly, saying exactly what you actually mean, dropping the constant qualifiers and the reflexive apologies you always used. You start choosing based on your own personal values now, not based on the constant fear of how someone else might possibly react to your honest decision. Real kindness slowly comes back into your life, but now it's backed entirely by strength and conscious choice, never again by fear or hidden obligation. The people who only ever respected the old pushover version of you start respecting the man instead, because you finally gave them something worth respecting. Boundaries were never actually cruelty, no matter what you were once taught. They were always simply the price of self-respect, and you finally started paying it. Part 6. The man who stopped apologizing. You walk into the room now with your shoulders pulled firmly back, and for the first time in years, you are not shrinking yourself down to fit anyone else. You say no without over-explaining yourself, without endless justifying, without flinching even once, and you mean it completely every single time you say it. You help people now because you genuinely choose to, not because you're still terrified of what might happen if you ever dare to say no to them anymore. Genuine respect starts following you everywhere you go, not because you ever demanded it from anyone, but because your own self-respect finally showed up first. Opportunities start opening up that never once opened before, simply because you finally learned how to properly advocate for the man standing in the mirror. You're still a genuinely good man. You never actually stopped being one for a second. The only real difference now is that your goodness finally has teeth. Picture the exhausted, invisible man from the very beginning of this story, standing right next to the calm, grounded man standing here in front of you. The world does not need fewer kind men walking around in it. It needs stronger ones. Men whose kindness is a conscious choice and never a cry for help. Stop performing kindness just to survive another day. Start actually living with real strength instead, and let genuine kindness follow from a place of power. The mask is completely gone now. The fear is gone too. What remains is a man who finally stopped apologizing for simply taking up space in his own life.